Good morning. We've just been having an incredible chat actually backstage about AI trainers. Has anyone heard about this, AI trainers? This new thing, it's like the new generation of Pokemon trainers, students that are getting paid between 3 cents and 15 cents per task to try and feed data, fake data or understand unstructured data for brands in order to try and figure out how to make machines a little bit smarter. And they're basically just trying to train AIs. This was in the newspaper last night, Bloomberg, over the weekend. Did anyone see it? And it's just showing that, amazing, thank you. It was just showing that that industry is worth about 100 million a year at the moment. And by the end of next year, it's going to be worth 5 billion. If I was going to start an industry right now and start a startup, I would certainly be becoming an AI trainer or a PowerPoint ninja. Fucking sorry, guys. Hiya. So I'm a preacher from IBM. I work for a little startup. I like to joke we're a 106-year-old startup. In fact, the thing the guy actually said afterwards, he said, "Are you a futurist?" I said, "I'm an evangelist, I'm a preacher. I just talk about all the cool stuff that IBM's doing and see kind of what the implications for brands might be like that." He said, "You've really got no idea, have you?" This is a true story. This happened just backstage now. He said, "You're a blind man in a dark room searching for a black cat that isn't there." What does that even mean? I've only ever heard that quote once before, but I think it perfectly sums up what we're going to talk about today. We could take this in 1,000 different directions. It's going to be difficult to try and do it in 20 minutes, so hold on to your hats. I'm going to try and show you some stuff very, very quickly, because I think we've got a huge responsibility to build relationships. This is what we're talking about today. Vicky was saying before, actually. There's a lot of cool stuff we can do where AI can go and change the world, but we need to understand what's the commercial side of that as well, what actually works. So my job is not to look at what happens in the future, it's to look at what have we got today that actually works. So we're going to try and show you something. We're going to try and be quite brave, because whilst we do some amazing things, I can't credibly stand in front of you and say we've got the world's largest production AI for enterprise. We've probably got the only one of its kind in the world at the moment. A few people will catch up. Everyone's trying to call everything AI at the moment. Very few people have actually got it. They've really just got a smart predictive engine. Very, very few AIs. And I can't do that with PowerPoint, can I? Because you'll be like, yeah, whatever. Thanks, Jeremy. That's really interesting. What if I showed you? You know, never worked with animals, children, or live technology. So what we're going to try and do for one of the first times, I'm going to try and do a live demonstration of Watson just to show what that might look like in an agency environment. I'm going to try and power it with my voice and not type anything, if it works. If not, we'll have a great conversation about machine learning technology, not being mature yet. I'm also going to do it on a huge data set instead of a very small one. We're going to look at about 62 million records, and I'm going to try and see if I can do a demo in 5 minutes that might take you guys days, weeks, or even a month in some cases to do. Does that sound okay? So just to try and set the scene, the reason I've done the presentation like this as well, because you're going to have so much stuff today. You're going to learn about building profitable relationships, loyal relationships. I want to talk to you about building meaningful ones as well. How do we genuinely try and change the world with some of the technology that we've got in our hands, and what can we do with that? But before we do, I wanted to just show you a little clip. This is a 3-minute clip of something really that happened 60 years ago. It's a movie. If you've not seen it already, you've got to go and watch it. It's freaking awesome. And it's going to be about how jobs are being completely disrupted by technology. And the reason I wanted to start off with a story is because I believe, I looked at the cross-section of who's here today, there is a hugely diverse range of people in this room, all with different agendas and opinions, and they all want to get different things out of today. But regardless of what your job title is, I'm a big believer that we're just storytellers. We're all just preachers, right? We've just got to learn how to tell stories as fast and as compellingly as possible. And remembering our clients and our audiences always come first. So just watch this short clip, and then we'll have a chat about it.
What's it going to take to make this thing worth the price tag?
Well, we're just getting up to speed here, Mr. Harrison. I need more manpower. I need programmers, folks to feed the cards.
We'll get them for crying out loud.
Okay.
All right? You're the IBM man, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, we'll pull them out of the sky if you have to.
Understood.
I'm not paying any of you.
When the first IBM came to NASA, it was not an easy transition.
No one thought to measure these things?
I'm afraid not, sir.
Nobody knew how to use it.
Computers were these big units that took up the whole entire wall.
There's more computing power in a toaster today than what was available to these people in the 1960s. When Dorothy sees the IBM being built, she learns how to program them.
She realized really quickly that the IBM was going to be the wave of the future.
The IBM 7090 data processing system. It has the ability to solve problems that cannot be solved in a lifetime of manual labor.
Atta girl. What's your name again?
Dorothy Vaughn.
We need the IBM for Glenn's launch.
We got a job to do. Whatever happens up there, it's in God's hands.
My gals are ready. They can do the work. Ladies, we've been reassigned.
She basically saved her whole team's jobs and created a value for herself.
It's so funny what we think of as computers now and what they were then.
Thank you very much. That's the first time that's ever got a round of applause. There's a beautiful line in that, actually. Gary Kasparov was talking about it yesterday. He said, romanticizing the loss of jobs to technology is a little better than complaining that antibiotics put too many gravediggers out of work. I like that. There's a whole thing about what that means for those girls. Computers back then were people. You know, they had to figure out the trajectories to try and figure out how to get the rockets to come and land. IBM technology helped put people into space. Our analytics helped to bring back Apollo 13. And back then, when those computers came in, they could do about 24,000 commands a second, which was why everyone was terrified. And they said, we now need to find value in things that we've not found before. Our jobs are going to change, and our jobs are going to evolve. Automation is going to make things better. In fact, what happened is they went on to have more rewarding jobs that they were enjoying a lot more and got paid a lot more as well. The same thing happened with Henry Ford, with production lines. If you look back to Josiah Wedgwood, same thing's happening all over again. You look at something like Watson now, and it can process 10 million records a second. So what he can do in 1 second, a human takes a lifetime to do. So I was having to think about it. There was a line in that clip. What was it about the toaster? You know, the thing, there's now more computing power in a toaster than we used to send man into space back then. You think about things like connected toothbrushes. We've got this ridiculous amount of power in our smartphones. Instead of sending men into space, what are we doing with it today? We're figuring out how to catapult pigs into space and find more ways to get people to waste time. I'm all for creating cool content that engages with people. You know, this is all great. I actually worked on this campaign back in 2010, 2011. The systems could never get it right because the sentiment could never understand why the birds were always angry. And all the sentiment analytics around it in social, you remember that back when we did social sentiment analytics, you had to train it an awful lot. You know, and we're doing some cool stuff, but a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to show you shortly how you can get access to all of this, we just need to mess with, and we just need to have fun. Stephen B. Johnson's got a beautiful TED Talk. It's about 10 minutes long. He says, if you want to look to where the future is heading, look to wherever people are having the most fun. It's a beautiful line, isn't it? And we kind of built Watson for fun. I mean, essentially what happened when we put Watson together, little clicker, it's not entirely working here. We built it for a game show. We looked at trying to invent this AI that we didn't know exactly what it was going to turn into. I wanted to show you some signs just for positioning. This is the Gartner hype cycle. I sometimes flash this up just so that I'm not exaggerating the hype of all these different technologies. This is independent analysts that have said what are the most mature technologies most likely to evolve over the next 5 to 10 years. And you'll see right at the bottom there, we've got real-time marketing, artificial intelligence. You'll see right at the top, we've got virtual assistants and predictive. In fact, if you look at some of the people that are genuinely doing AI, they've actually stopped calling it AI anymore. At IBM, we call it augmented intelligence. It's really just cognitive. You're trying to get a machine to understand, to reason, to learn, and think. If it doesn't know those 4 things, it's not actually cognitive. It's not an AI. So we talk about augmented intelligence, like it's trying to augment human behavior, but I prefer it the other way around. It's like an IA. All of this stuff, which I'm about to show you really quickly, is really just an intelligent assistant. It's just going to make you do your jobs faster and hopefully work with you. It's not going to replace everybody's jobs. It's how's it going to help you reach your customers faster and build better relationships quicker. And we forget about that. In fact, that first segment at the beginning of the Gartner hype cycle, that's only 3% of the industry at the moment. There's never been a better time to be talking about this stuff, to be having a conference talking about this intersection of AI and creativity, humanity and technology. What exactly do we do to try and make sense of all of this stuff? Well, a lot of you don't know what we do. We kind of, a lot of the times, we're the hidden piece behind a lot of other people's technology. It's about 97% of the world's banks. I think it's 90-something% of airlines, all IBM technology. But you often see it, because unlike a lot of companies, we don't just pour all of our money into brand building stuff, what we do is we spend about $6 billion a year in research, doing some of the stuff which I'm about to show you very quickly, and hopefully the demo, bless him, if Watson works. We registered 8,000 patents last year. Half of those around GDPR and privacy and transparency. Be happy to talk about that later on. But for the last 24 years, we've registered more patents than any other company in the world. So we're doing some pretty cool stuff. We've got about 1,000 research scientists that are working on this stuff. We've got 5 Nobel Prize winners, smart people that are not just trying to figure out how to make or save more money, but actually how they can use this to change the world. And I don't say this as a cliche, forgive me. Like, as marketers, we're on the front lines of this stuff. Like, we're going in rooms to save brands obscene amounts of money, but often we don't take that additional step of, well, with that money you saved, what if you invested in a healthcare project for teenage girls, or what if you invested in another thing? We don't often get involved in those conversations. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. You know, it's not just selling people stuff that needs what we have. We can all do that. There's a beautiful quote. I think it's Simon Sinek that said it. The goal in business isn't to sell to people who need what you have. It's to work with people who believe what you believe. And we'll look at how we invest in people in a second. But let me just give you a couple of really quick examples. I'm going to try and fly through these super fast. I do apologize. I know you're all incredibly smart. We built Watson for fun, for a game show, for Jeopardy in 2011. But straight away, as soon as we trained Watson to understand how to win that show, which had to be based on sarcasm and culture and different references and different types of humor, incredibly difficult to get a machine to do that. And also to get a machine that continually learns on its own. We could talk about regulation of machines like this in the future, how we make sure that we're responsible. But straight away, we put it into oncology. How do we try and figure out cures for cancer? Incredibly personalized forms of cancer. Looking at GP records, healthcare records, scans, medical imaging data, figure all of that stuff out to try and make better diagnoses, more meaningful relationships. Like Vicky was saying before about the commercial side, all of this now is doing interesting stuff for people like Wimbledon. You can check out ibm.com/Wimbledon. I don't mean this as an ad, but if you want to look at what AI is doing in content that's incredible, this was the first year that Watson, 100%, and AI built the highlights for Wimbledon. If you saw the highlights on the website, if you went on the app, if you looked at the curated highlights of the game, Watson watched the game. He looked at 53 million data points from the last 27 years. He looked historically at all the data going back to 1877, listened to the crowd noise, even listened to the way that players were talking in the press interviews to figure out what mood they were in and how they were most likely to perform against their opponent. So that you could say, in a certain match, you've got to do your second serve at 63 miles an hour return, and you've got to be able to understand how to be, on average, I don't know, 3.83 meters away from the net. Watson put all of that stuff together. And this was the first year that those highlights, 100%, were created by an AI. No human involvement whatsoever. Edited them. What does that mean for people whose jobs are in editing and post-production? What does it mean for musicians? Now, you may have heard of the cognitive dress from Marchesa. You may have seen at MWC, the Gaudi sculpture. We were chatting backstage about Alex the Kid. Alex the Kid's got this really lovely line, actually, when he talks about AI. Did anybody see it? It won a ton of awards and things. It was at Cannes this year. What we basically did with Alex the Kid, he's Rihanna's and Imagine Dragons producer. We worked on this collaboration to try and understand how we could help him to write a song better that was more relevant for his audience faster. So what we did is we fed in the last 25 years worth of Billboard songs, all the lyrics, all the commercials and the sales data that was attached to them. We then took 5 years worth of Wikipedia, New York Times, loads of different news data from the last 5 years. And then we took his entire audience from social media and fed them on top of those news articles based upon the personality types that they had to understand how they would react to those news stories. And then we gave it all back to Alex the Kid and visualized it all for him so he could write a song. The song's beautiful. It's called It's Not Easy. You can check it out on Spotify or see the video. But he's got this really nice line. This wasn't AI writing a song, and there were some stories that made it look like that. He described it, it's like a clothesline. It's like, that's all we're doing, an intelligent assistant. It's giving you a clothesline to hang things off, to be creative. It's just helping you do stuff in seconds that you wouldn't be able to do in a lifetime to understand exactly what your customers want at any one time. Not what they clicked on, not just the engagement bit, but exactly what it was that they might engage with emotionally, what kind of emotional triggers you might need to show at any one time. Watson's being used in personalized education at the moment. About 150 million kids are going to have uniquely personalized education. Just like, imagine a customer journey. You know, you've got your 100 million customers. What is it we do? In marketing, we get our 25 audiences. We get our segments, and we categorize everyone. We do all the lookalike stuff and throw it out. We can't do that in 2017 anymore. Not only is it disrespectful, nobody wants to give any marketing information to brands anymore. 55% apparently consumers don't want to share their data. What if we just did 100 million unique customer journeys? Every single one was based upon exactly what someone was interested in real time. And a system, a cognitive system, could understand those emotions and those personality traits afterwards. Well, that's what we're doing to try and figure out how to do some of this stuff. We do not have 5 minutes. I'm going to take 6.5. And lastly, let me just finish on this. I'm going to show you 2 super quick examples, and I'm going to give you the demo that takes 17 minutes in 3 minutes. Is that all right? We're doing a project with TED. Imagine this for content, feeding every TED Talk that's ever been recorded and putting it into Watson so that you can ask him questions. What does this mean for leadership? What does this mean for innovation? What about, you know, the intersection of humanity and technology? How should we go and train up the next generation of leaders? Watson will answer those questions because he's watched every single talk. And then he'll say, this is what I think, but also here's the 3 talks that you should go and watch to make up your own mind. What does that mean for creativity? Some pretty sexy stuff, right? We do things for voice activation, not just to try and drive driverless cars, but to figure out what mood people are in within the car. How are they anxious? Are they scared? Are they excited? And as a result of that, do we change the driving style? How does it impact weather? And show you guys how you can get access to all of this stuff in a second. We've got the world's largest IoT operation. It's about 2.5 billion sensors. I think we run 5 weather models every 10 minutes. And you talk about meaningful stuff. Anyone that heard me speak before, I couldn't not put up a picture of my girls. It's the reason I joined IBM. IBM technology within NICU helped save their lives. They weren't supposed to survive. And it helped do diagnoses within 24 hours to understand exactly what they needed to do, the treatments they had. They ended up having heart surgery and beating all the odds. So, marketing demo of Watson, very, very basic use case. I'm going to try and show you this in 5 minutes, so bear with me. I'll hang around afterwards if anybody wants to see it in more detail. I'm going to show it you based on an email campaign, but this could also show you, here's the 20,000 customers most likely to churn next month. Here's the 9,000 that are unhappy, most likely to leave your brand in 10 weeks' time. Here's the people that are nervous about whatever. And we can build all these metrics into our dashboard based upon the emotional intent. Let's see if Watson's going to behave himself. Okay. Fingers crossed, everybody. Hey, Watson.
Hello. Would you like to learn more about campaigns LeakFit relaunch?
Yes. How does this drop compare to all of the campaigns over the past year?
I do not know what drop means.
Of course you don't. Drop's the same as an email campaign. I've always changed the language. You should be able to train a system with the languages and the nuances that you use and whatever slang it is that you use as well. Drop is the same as campaign.
Okay, got it.
So how does this drop compare to all campaigns over the past year?
This campaign is ranked 238 out of 250 campaigns over the past year.
So we knew it was a bad campaign. That's why I've dug into it. I had a gut feeling, but I've got no data to back it up. We can see it's 238 out of 250, but I need to understand, is that a blip? How is it trending? What sort of metrics have we used to try and measure that? What metrics did you use to calculate this?
Here are the metrics used.
How is it trending?
The performance rank of this campaign is trending down.
Okay, so we can't fix it quickly. We need to try and get the system to do it. We've got people that have given us their data respectfully, that we can't just wait to go backwards and forwards to our analysts, our data scientists, our agencies, fix the campaign, understand the subject line. This is 62 million records. You might see behind 144,000 records, 250 campaigns. This is like having a marketing assistant permanently by your side that knows every campaign and every metric that you've ever done and then can help you try and fix it. What I'm showing you is not proof of concept. This is live. It's available today. It doesn't even cost anything. It's just part of the platform that we've got. But that's what the little purple circles are in the corner of our products now. You just start asking Watson stuff. And the reason we've used voice, you can use keyboard, but by the end of 2019, over 30% of our browsing behavior is going to happen without a screen. So voice technology needs to disrupt everything and needs to be at the core of everything that we do. Okay. Watson, what is the subject line for this campaign?
The subject line is, "Don't let your health skip a beat. Get sleek for 3."
Okay. And what is the sentiment of the subject line for this campaign?
This subject line has a negative sentiment score.
Okay, so we understand the emotions of how people are engaging with this content. We've got 3 minutes left. People getting twitchy in the front. This is good stuff though, right? This is freaking awesome. What's the Arthur C. Clarke quote? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. This is freaking awesome. This isn't just what people clicked on. This is what mood they're in. This is why it's not working well. So this is looking at the sentiment. So negative sentiment score, it's not good. 62% fear. People are scared of my emails. I need to do something about that. Let's look at every email campaign that we've ever sent in the last year and figure out how to fix it. Take the emails for the past year with the highest open rates and analyze the subject line sentiment.
Here are the sentiment scores for the top 3 mailings with the highest open rates and the bottom 3 mailings with the lowest open rates.
Okay, so there's the best ones. We can see here that we've got the worst ones. Mine's right at the top of that. Don't let your health skip a beat. So we need to try and fix that. So let's have a look at a different subject line. Watson, what is the sentiment of "The future is amazing with Sleek Fit 3"?
The sentiment for this is positive.
So likely to be 95% joy, agreeableness, openness. We can start looking at, so that's what, we could do this for video, we could do it for subject line, for copy. You could do it for Instagrams, for the type of content that we should put up on YouTube. Modify this campaign subject line to "The future is amazing with Sleek Fit 3".
The campaign subject line has been modified. Would you like to see this mailing template?
Yes.
Okay.
143,000 unique images. Every single one's been tagged individually. You wouldn't have been able to see that because it's such a fast demo. You can see the future is amazing with Sleek Fit 3. We didn't need to go back to the campaign, to the agency team and say, look, can you fix this? We've done it all in seconds. In fact, I've shown this to a couple of WPP agencies that have said, what you could do now in 5 or 10 minutes would take us up to 30 days to do. What does that mean for our jobs? So if you want to go and mess with this, go to ibm.com/Watson. It's one of the things I love most about our company. It's completely open. You can go and hack it to bits. All the demos are there, personality insights, all the stuff that I've shown you today. You can go and give it to your developers, understand personality insights, run your Twitter handles and stuff through it. But this is important, right? And the reason it's important, and I'll finish on this, because the brands that we work with that make the biggest mistakes are the ones that invest everything in the technology and they forget about the people. And Gartner's actually showing this at the moment. They say for every $1 you spend in tech, you should spend 7 in people. We're seeing with the best brands that we work with, it should be 10 to 1. And actually, most brands that get it the wrong way get it the other way around because it's so seduced by the sexiness of AI and Watson's going to solve all their problems instead of people need to make this stuff work because technology is nothing. What's important is that we have faith in people, that they're good and they're smart. And if you give them the right tools, hopefully they'll do something wonderful with them. Amen? Listen, I've put the full demo, all the slides. The audio for this is now live on jeremy.live if you just want to go and download all that stuff and work. It's very, very fast. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.